So we'll look ahead to what's next for Luke Campbell in just a moment. Be remiss of us not to look back. You've had a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks, and we were just talking about this off air. How do you reflect upon it, Luke? How do you, and I'm sure you have analysed it, what's the kind of pervading thought that occupies the mind having looked back on it?
I mean, the fight in itself was a fantastic fight. It was a very crowd-pleasing fight, and you know, at the end of the day, we are in the entertainment business, and I've never been in a dull fight. There was a lot of drama in the fight. Obviously, the fight didn't go my way, which I'm, a little bit heartbroken about that because, I put everything into what I do. But the fans was happy, and we give a great entertainment, and I guess that's the main result I can look at from the fight. And it was, in my opinion, the best lightweights fighting each other.
Let's focus on the two moments. The knockdown first that you gave him, and the fact that he got back up. I mean, what I noticed was when he got back up, and it was an incredible shot that put him down. Yeah. You were a little reticent to come forward and sort of try to go for the jugular at that point. Did you sense in the fight that he was still right there, and that maybe, as we perceived, you hadn't maybe hurt him as badly as initially you would think, because it was such a big shot?
Yeah, I have seen a few comments on that, and for me, I am a good finisher, and I'm when I've smelt blood inside the ring, I've always jumped on it, and through instinct as well. But when he jumped back up, and then my intentional plan was to jump straight on him, but with my instinct in there, he was recovered in seconds. So people saying to me, "Oh, you should have jumped on him." If I'd have jumped on him and been reckless and careless, he could have caught me. He could have caught me with me going in crazy trying to finish him. And it could have been me that got done in that round. But as a fighter, I know you just know, like it was alert, it was on. If someone's not there or not when I'm in there, because like I say, I feel like I'm a very good finisher, and I've always finished my opponents off in a good way. But he bounced up from that, and he was recovered surprisingly very quick.
The shot he caught you with, it was similar to the one that Lomachenko caught Linares with. It was right on the liver. How, when you're sort of immobilized by a body shot like that, what is it? Is it just overwhelming pain? Are you winded?
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that?
Well, that's never happened to me before. But he kept throwing the shot to the head, so I was protecting the head, and at that moment he whipped it under my elbow and lifted my rib, and the shot itself was fine, and then I stepped back, and then it was like someone had tied my lungs in a knot, and I couldn't breathe, and I had to go down there and try and breathe really. And literally that was it. I just couldn't catch my breath. That's never happened to me before. But again, I personally thought I got up well in time, and the referee just waved it off instantly, which I thought was a little shocked. But I was still, even when I got up, a little bit short of breath.
You study tape, Luke, and you've said it, the two best in the division. Your belief that the two of you, and you were toe-to-toe, it was a great spectacle. When you study film, you talk to your coaching team and you talk to people in the fight game about him, was he better than you expected in that ring standing across from him?
Yes. Yeah, he was better than I expected. And I honestly thought as well, once he felt the power I have, that he wouldn't want to know, he'd want to get out there. But he surprised us in a few different ways.
You have fought, and we talked about this off air, you've never shirked a challenge. You've gone to them, you've taken on some of the best, and Vasiliy Lomachenko is right up there. And I want to come to that. That was August 2019, I think.
Yes.
You fought Vasiliy, took him all the way, 12 rounds. It was a decision in the end for Vasiliy. When you compare and contrast Vasiliy and Ryan, Give us a kind of fighter's breakdown of the two of them and what kind of strengths they have and perhaps some weaknesses that you saw from them both that you think, if I was given another chance, I'd look to exploit them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Garcia, he's a younger man. You know, he's 22 years old. You know, the bounce back a little quicker. His hand speed is obviously quicker. Lomachenko in general had much better skill, like better footwork. He was smaller, very compact, didn't give nothing away. Garcia had more power in both hands. Obviously sharp hands. He was a taller fighter. You know, left himself available, open. You know, right up until that shot in the 7th round, literally, if you was watching the fight, regardless of what the scorecards were saying, because they were shocking, regardless of that, watching that fight, there was nothing in that fight whatsoever. And I honestly thought that I was turning the fight my side as the rounds went on, because I thought he could be getting a little bit more sloppy. He's giving me a few more shots, and I'll start nailing him as the fight goes on. But obviously, I got hit with that shot and didn't recover. But yeah, I mean, Lomachenko, his skill and his footwork and his judgment of distance is the best I've ever been in with. But obviously, you know, Garcia is quick hands, younger man, can punch. Yeah, so I guess I'm just sat here now giving everyone else compliments.
What about Ryan as a person? Because obviously he's got this very extravagant social media account, and he comes across as, from the outside, quite a cocky individual. But you got a chance to spend some time with him, and it seemed like you two had a big mutual respect for one another.
Yeah, massively. To be honest with you, with the way the fight was going in training camp and the media that was around it and things, you know, and what he was coming out saying this and saying that, and I thought, oh, once we get to the press conference, he's going to run his mouth and he's going to be cocky. But he wasn't really. He was, in person, he come across different to how he came across on social media. And then obviously after the fight, you know, his family come up to me, he was chatting to his family, and it was all really nice. It was all really nice, and Ryan was really nice as well, to be honest, afterwards.
You've got so many in that division. Obviously, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo, Vasiliy is obviously there, yourself, Ryan. I mean, it's the best division in boxing, no doubt, for quality. I mean, where do you map out your route back to challenging for the biggest honours in that division?
Yeah, obviously setback now. Obviously it's a setback for myself. I'm still up on one of the best lightweights in the world. You know, and there's some other guys in there that are being named one of the best lightweights in the world, but they have zero CV to go with that. Like, you know, they're named one of the best lightweights in the world, but yet they've not fought anybody. You know, the likes of Devin Haney and things like that. I mean, he's still, in my eyes, he's still yet to prove himself at that level and to be known as one of the best lightweights. So it'll be interesting to see him in a tough fight, and to see him fight someone that's of that stature. You know, that's of that.
Well, just on that,
quality.
Then, someone like a Devin Haney, is that where you? Because again, I come back to you. You've never shirked one. So is that where you and your team knock on his door and say, "Hey, I'm around. You want a test? I'm here for the test."
Oh, always. But for myself, I think I'd like to get my record straight with Linares, a Linares rematch. I mean, I thought I won the first fight. So again, for me, it'd have to be, I'd like to clean that record straight with him, and get the victory that I deserve over Linares.
And is that from your understanding of perhaps conversations that have taken place, is that something he would be open to?
Oh, Linares is a warrior. He's open to any challenges. You know, you get a few guys in the division that will fight anyone and go anywhere. And he's one of them. You know, there's a few of us that, you know, they want easier fights and they don't want to leave the hometown to fight and things like that. But the likes of Linares is a warrior, proving himself, and he loves the challenge.
And if you were to set that record straight, which rematch would you relish more out of Lomachenko and Garcia?
Good question. I mean, they both mean a lot to me. Probably both. I don't know. It's hard to just flip the coin and whoever it lands on.
You talked about the footwork and judging distance. I mean, he's called the Matrix for a reason, and there's a lot of mystique, I think it's fair to say, around Loma. And you watch the fight, and you were in the trenches with him, and again, listen, you're the one that's across from him. You're telling us, I mean, who are we at the end of the day? You're saying his range and his footwork is incredible. From a boxing standpoint, when you were studying him, the video and the tape of Loma, is he even better when you're up close with him? Or is the myth, is the legend in a lot of ways maybe just cloud it a little bit?
Well, what I watched of him, and what you see of him on YouTube and The Matrix and things like that, he couldn't do any of that with me. I didn't allow him to do any of that, like any of the skills that you see on the videos, what he's capable of doing. You know, it all depends on who you're in there with and, you know, what the opponent is allowing you to do. But I took a lot of his tools away from him, really, I believe.
Do we see you back in the ring this year? I know obviously you've said 2020, I mean, you were never out the gym, for goodness sake.
No.
This is a downtime. This is a time to recalibrate physically, mentally. Do you see yourself back in the ring latter part of this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm here now relaxing with the family, and, you know, the idea is just to relax, switch off, get a bit of headspace. And then when I go back, start putting the pieces of the puzzle back together and seeing what's there and what I want to do.
How do you I mean, obviously there's, you know, taking a loss is part of boxing. You know, it's extremely rare to go through a career unbeaten, but when avenues close off, how do you kind of go, right, it's sort of taking a couple of steps back and I've got to edge my way back up? Mentally, that must be really tough.
Mentally, it's always tough to, you know, to take a loss. But then also, you know, it's, in a way, it's boxing, really. You know, the best of the best get beat at some point in their careers, and it's just how you, it's in diversities when you really know who you are and what you're made of.
Does it change your desire to get back in the ring based on whether you're coming off a win or a loss? Is the desire to get back in the ring always consistent?
You probably got more desire and you're more determined to get back into the ring after a loss, because you're not really thinking about when you win. It's great, but when you win, you don't really go back to the drawing board and have a look at what you can improve on, you know, and things like that. When you win, you don't think about that, but when you lose, you go back to the drawing board and you start thinking, what could I do better? How can I adapt to do this and stuff like that? So I think so from there, you're more determined, I think, to get back in the ring, because you want to correct your mistakes.
Yeah, it's interesting that, Luke, because, you know, you've said there that you've been hugely successful doing what you've done with your coaching staff, your philosophy, your outlook on things. When you take a defeat, is it that way? Is it back to the drawing board? Are you changing up the way that you train? Are you adding new components? Are you always looking out for what your competitors are doing, what other boxers are doing, new methods, new methodologies? Is that something that you buy into? Are you a real student of the sweet science?
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely a student of the sport of boxing. I've been, from the day I've been in it, I've always wanted to be better than I was yesterday. And that comes with desire and passion. Yeah. You know, and focus. I've been so dedicated and determined every second I've been in boxing, because I've never been one of those persons that wanted to look back saying, oh, I wish I'd have tried harder, or I wish I'd have been more dedicated, because you hear all them stories all the time. Yeah. So for me, as a person, I've never wanted to look back with any regret. So I can sit here now and proudly say that I don't have any regrets through anything that's gone my way or hasn't gone my way in boxing, because I always give it 100%, and And I can live with myself. If I get beat, I can live with myself because I put in 100%. I've tried the best I can. And, you know, that's all I can do. I can give it 100% and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Just because I fall off the horse don't mean I can't get back on the horse. You know, if I fall off again, I'll get back on the horse and just keep trying. And I think that's the way I look at things, not just in boxing, but in life in itself. You know, because everyone falls off the horse from time to time.
100%.
You know, what do we do? Do we stay off it or do we get back on it? You know, and that's a philosophy I've always looked at for life in general.
When you dedicate yourself to such a singular craft as boxing, and obviously you won the gold medal back in 2012, it's nearly a decade that since you won that gold medal. I think back to most recently, Mike Tyson getting back in the ring with Roy Jones Jr. It almost feels like it's in you. Even though you're getting older, you're contemplating retirement or whatever, you're thinking about, okay, how might the next couple of years look? I'm not 23 anymore. Yet you are always kind of, in essence, you are a boxer, and I suppose will always be a boxer. So in that sense, how do you manage the next couple of years in terms of your goals and how you emotionally deal with, you know, getting towards the end point of your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's in my blood. You know, it's something that I've done the majority of my life. So it's literally in my DNA that, you know, I'm a competitor, I want to compete. And I guess that quality will take over in anything I do in life. You know, through boxing, I've learned to build them type of qualities where I'm going to work hard in something if I've got passion. You know, I'm going to have that focus, that dedication, that will to win. You know, I can take them qualities and put it into something else if I choose to. And for the likes of myself, I've always wanted to, as I'm going along boxing, I've always wanted to set plan B up and plan C up. You know, and I've something I want to go into in that, because from looking in boxing from a younger age, I've seen these professional boxers from a young lad struggle with boxing as they get older, and you know, they hit depression, and you know, they start drinking and doing other things as well. And I thought, I've never wanted to be one of those guys that falls into that category of, just because you've finished with boxing, you know, you're going down the wrong path and you're struggling and you get down and things. So I've always wanted to put things in place that I can just shift the focus to something else. And because, you know, boxing's given me the life, it's given me the life I live today, which I'm very fortunate for.
Look, I've got to ask you about the fight. I think the wider public is so interested in the Battle of Britain, potentially between AJ, your fellow 2012 gold medalist, and Tyson Fury. I know there's maybe a hurdle or two in the way with Usyk being a mandatory challenger, but do you see the fight happening this year, and do you have a view on that fight? Its importance in the kind of grand scheme of boxing, obviously from a British perspective, it's huge.
Yeah.
And who you would favour?
I mean, I'd like to see the fight get made. I mean, who wouldn't? But you know, as another boxer that always fights the best, and you know, takes fights and goes to their back garden to fight the best. You know, for me, I think the best should fight the best.
Yeah.
I do believe that if there is any heavyweight out there to beat Tyson Fury, it would be Joshua to beat him, because, you know, styles make fights. But Tyson Fury is, and has proved to everybody, he's a hell of a force.
Yeah.
You know, and the best heavyweight out there with who he's beat on his record, you know, and he's unbeaten. I think it'll be a fantastic fight. That's probably at the moment, by statistics, I'd probably put Tyson Fury a little bit ahead. But if anyone will beat Tyson Fury, it will be Anthony Joshua.